Okay, good morning grade 10s. Let's see what you should have done with this one. This one, if you did find it a bit difficult, it was because it's a bit new work and it's combining all the components and everything we've done in the past. But let's quickly see here what we should have done. Okay, so for the first number, the user will just type it in there, so we don't need to do anything there. With this one, number 2's length. Number 2, which is also the length of our calculations. We must get a random real number between 24 to 64 excluding. So that means we don't want 24. So our smallest number is actually 25. And we don't want 64. So our biggest number is actually 63. So let's go look. So in our edit box, okay, so our edit box, this is number 2. We want to display in this, it's our edit box.text. Remember with this one, okay, let's do it in separate lines. Let me show you. So you could have done a variable. Because it's a real number, our data type is double. So I'm gonna call it a double variable called num of type double. Then because we want a random number, we go randomize. And then we say our double num must get the value of, and then random. Our highest number we said we wanted was 63. Sorry. Our highest number we wanted was 63. Our lowest number was 25. So it's highest minus lowest plus 1 always. And then on the outside plus lowest. But to get a real number, you'll see this will always just give us a whole number. To make it real, we must just add the word random. Now, you didn't know this yet, so it's fine if you just stuck with a normal one. So for now, just so something new, you just add random to it. That will give us a random number between 0 and 1. So it's a 0.245 and a 0.768. This will make it random for us. I will make it a fraction for us. Now we just want to display this variable. So in this edit box, we want to display our dnum. But remember, dnum is a double. So we need to float to string the dnum. So let's quickly look at the parts of this one again. Dnum, they said, must be a real number, means fractions, so that means double. So we create our variable. We want a random number, so we need our randomize. Randomize will just make our random number a bit more random. Then our dnum gets the value of a random number. Highest 63, lowest is 25, always plus 1. On the outside plus lowest. But because we wanted a fraction, we add random to it. And then we float to string. So we have to make this double a string, dnum, so that we can display it in our edit box. So you'll see when you play this one, there you go. So you'll see it's a 28.90 and a 49.58 and a 27.57 and a 53.57 and so forth. Okay, our next button, a random whole number between 8 and 80 but inclusive. So we want the 8 and we want the 80 in number 3. Alright, so with this one, let's create our variable. We want an integer number because it's a whole number. So then our inum must get the value of random. But remember, because we want a random number, first thing we do is randomize. You'll see if you don't do this, it will still work. It's just good practice to add it. So then our inum must get the value of a random number. The highest number we want is 80.
The lowest number is a 8, always plus 1, and then outside plus lowest. And we want it integer, so we just stop there. Then we just need to go display it. So in our edit box num3, in the text property, we want to put our inum. But inum is an integer, so we need to int to string our inum. Okay, so we've done those two now. So our next one with number 4, the user will just choose from the combo box a number, so we don't need to do any coding with them. So now we've got all the inputs. All the following buttons would just be using them. So calculation 1 needs to work out all of these calculations. Area of a rectangle, volume of a cube, perimeter of a rectangle, area of a circle, volume of a cylinder, and surface area of a cylinder. So let's go. Area of a rectangle. There's our length is number 2 and our breadth is number 3. Area of rectangle. Okay, so for area of rectangle, however, we need, let's just quickly do all our inputs. Okay, we're gonna have number 1, which is radius. So we're gonna have, let's just see, it's a spin edit. Spin edit will always give us an integer value. So integer for num1, which will also be the radius. That will be an integer. Our second one, the length, remember that was a real number, number 2. So our double num2, which will also be our length. Why is it double? Because it had fractions. And normally if you add more than one word, it's good to start with a capital letter. So the I is for the integer, then it's the num1 and the radius, and D is for the double, then it's the num2 and the length. It's just good practice to name it like that, good naming convention. Our third one is breadth, and remember that is a whole number, so that would be integer. So we can add it to this one. We're going to have another integer, which is our num3, and that was our breadth. And then our last one is the combo box. If you want to see what values are inside, you can either just play, or you can go to the items part. If you look inside items, you'll see there's all of them are integer values. And it's the depth. So also by integer, put our I num4, which is the depth. Okay, so now we've got our variables. So for input, to get I num1 rad out, we need to, the I num1 was out of a spin edit. So it's spn num1, and we use dot value to get something out of a spin edit. And let's do our double num2. This one we have to get from the edit box. So it's your edt with a name dot text. But remember that always gives you a string, and we need it as a double. So we need to change the string to a float. Okay, our third one is our inum3, which is also in the edit box. So also out of our edit box num3, we want to use a text property, but again this is a string and we needed an integer, so we need to change our string to an int. That will do that conversion for us. And then our last one is our inum4, which is also integer. We need to get this from the combo box. The combo box also gives us strings. So from the combo box,
CBO num4 from our combo box, we also use text property. This also gives us a string. We wanted an integer, so we need to string to int this one. So that will do that for us. So now we've got everything we need. So now we can go look and start doing our calculations. So the area of a rectangle is our length times breadth. There's our length, there's our breadth. Remember the length was a float, so that was a double. So that means when we multiply with a fraction, it's going to stay a fraction most probably. So now we want to do the area of a rectangle, which will also be a double. Okay, so area of a rectangle is our double num2 that we just have to times by our I num3. And there's our area of a rectangle. Only thing else is maybe to display it. So in our edit box for area of a rectangle, in the text property, we can just go display our area rec. But remember, area rec was a double. And to display, we need it as a string. So we need to change our float to a string. And that one's complete. Okay, our next step is volume of a cube. The volume of a cube. So the next one we're looking at is our volume for our cube. So for a cube, it's our length times breadth times the depth. Okay, so length times breadth again. So again, we're going to have our float in there. That means it's going to be also double. So this is going to be volume of cube. You'll see my variable names. I keep it very similar to like volume of a cube and area of a rectangle. You don't need to go complete words, even like breadth, just a BRE. But it's nice to just know what the variables refer to. So our volume for our cube, and then you can use your control space to give you the options to type quicker. This is our item 3, which is our breadth, which we have to times by our double num2, which is the length, which we have to times with our I num4, which is our depth. Only other thing then to display this, so in our edit box for volume for cube, in the text property, we want to put our volume for our cube. But remember, volume for cube is an double. So we need to change our float to a string. And that one's done. Okay, our next one is our perimeter of a rectangle. Perimeter of the rectangle. With this, you'll see all the comments I put in. It's nice to just tell us what's happening, where we're doing it. It's not necessary, however. Remember, comments are just extra code to help the programmer, but it's not actually code, so it doesn't interfere with our program at all. Okay, so for this one, for a rectangle, again, our length and our breadth we need, which is again a double. So this would be the perimeter of a rectangle. So our perimeter of our rectangle will be remember that is for perimeter for a rectangle is 2 lengths plus 2 breadths. So it's 2 times our breadths plus 2 times our lengths. and then we just need to display this. So perimeter of rectangle, again our text, and all of them are edit boxes. So it's always .text, and we want to put our perimeter of our rectangle, but again, perimeter of a rectangle is a double, so we need to float to string that one. Okay, our next one we've got is our area of a circle. Okay, so we're gonna, for area of a circle we're gonna use pi, so that will always be a double. So we're gonna do the area of a circle. So the area of our circle is pi times radius squared. So that is our I_num1. Okay, so this is our radius. For the squared part, you can do it different ways. You can go just again times I_num1 red, that is squared. We could also what you could also do is there's a square of that function that will give you the square of that one. The other option you could also do is we've got a power function. But remember, when we want to use power, right on top when it's uses, we must just add the word math there. Gives us some additional math features built into our program then. So then you'll see power works. So we want this number to the power of 2. That would also work. I'm just going to keep the first one and just put them in comments so that you see that is possibilities, but whichever one you like best is good. And then we just need to display this thing. So in our edit box, for area of a circle, again in the text property, we want to put our area of the circle. Problem, however, just with this is, remember, this is a double, so we need to float to string that variable. And there we go. Okay, our next one we've got is the volume of a cylinder. Cylinder is basically a circle plus depth. So we want the volume of a cylinder. Oh, please excuse my spelling if anything is misspelled. The idea is there. So because it's a circle, we'll have double again. So this is the volume of a cylinder. So the volume of our cylinder will be, we need the area of a circle. So in this case we oh, sorry, please excuse me for that. So we've already got our area of our circle, which is that. So we can use that same variable, the area of our circle, and we can just multiply that by the depth, which was our I_num4. That would be a cylinder's volume. So you can do it this way. This one I prefer, but if you did not want to use that calculation you already did, you could just go again, do the calculation times I_num for the depth. Okay, that's what I'm going to put in comments. I prefer the first one, but you could also do that way. That would also work fine. And now the only other thing is we need to display this. So in our edit box, for our volume of a cylinder with the S would have been better with the other ones, dot text, we must give it a value, which is our volume of cylinder. But remember, this is still a double, so we need to float to string. And here you can see, even if you misspell your variables, it doesn't matter. As long as you stick with the way you spelled it, then it's fine. Okay, last one. Then we've got the surface area of a cylinder. Okay, so surface area of a cylinder, you'll have to use some of your math knowledge for this, but the sides is basically our circumference of the circle times the depth, and then we've got two circles on the end. Okay, so we're doing the surface area of cylinder. Okay, so with this one will also be a double. So it's the surface of a cylinder. So the surface of the cylinder will be, okay, so the top and the bottom, which is two circle areas, we can just use our area of our circle times 2. That's for the top and the bottom. Then we need to add to that the perimeter of a circle times depth. So for perimeter of a circle, it's our pi times 2 times radius, which is our I num1. So that will give us the perimeter, and this we had to times by our depth for the sides. So that would be our surface area. With these ones, you don't need to worry. In tests and stuff, I will give you the formulas. So the formulas would be given to you. You don't need to know all your maths formulas off by heart. But it's good to have an idea of what should happen there. But then we'll give you the formulas and you must just apply them. Okay, and then we just need to display this. So in our edit box, for surface area of the cylinder, in the text property, we want to put our surface area of the cylinder. But remember again, that's a float or a double. So we need to float to string this one. Let's quickly see if everything is working up until this stage. Okay, so we can choose a number there, get a random number there, we can get a number there, we can choose a number from here. Let's choose a smaller number. We can click this and there's all our calculations. Okay, so it looks good. You can obviously go and check any of them just to make sure they are working. Okay, let's quickly look at the following ones. So first one, is num1 bigger than num2? So remember, our answer with this question, is num1 bigger than num2, would be yes or no. So, but for this, we need num1 and we need num2. So what I'm going to do, just to save myself some time, I'm just going to quickly copy this. And then what I'm going to do is just paste it there. We're going to need num1 and num2. So we're not going to need num3 or 4. And we're only going to need num2. And then we're only going to need num1 and 2. So we're not going to need those two. Okay, so whenever there's a question, that means if our I num1 is bigger than our double num double num Okay, remember we don't need our, let's just change these names, we just need it. num1 and num2, we don't need the length and radius. So if num1 is greater than num2, then in our edit box, let's just see this one. You'll see I never changed the name. This is just still a t-labeled edit. I never changed the name of this component. Okay, so I'm sorry about that, but I'll show you. See, so it's still called labeled edit. So let's just stick with what we've got. Like in tests and exams, you're also not allowed to change the components' names or anything in the GUI, except if the question asked it. So for us, for now, it's called labeled edit 1. And in that text property, we just want to say yes. But then we also just want our else part. Else in our labeled edit 1 dot text, we want to put no. And there we've got that. Okay, I think this we're going to use in multiple ones. I'm just going to copy that again. Our next one is show the biggest number between num1 and num2. So let's just paste that again there. So we get the two variables. We need num1 and 2. So now we want to show the biggest number. So we need to again go see which one is bigger. So if our I num1 is greater than our double num2, then we want to show number 1. So then in our labeled edit 2 now, I think it's 2, let's just go see. Yeah, labeled edit 2, text property, we want to put I num1, which is an integer. So that means we need to into string our I num1. Remember, no semicolon when we've got an else. Else in our labeled edit 2, in the text property, we want to put double num2. But remember, that is a double. So we need to float to string that one, and then semicolon. And that's all we need to do there. Then our next one. Is num3 an even number? So we just need num3. Is num3 an even number? Okay, so in this one, I'm still going to paste it there. Let's see what we've got. But then we're just going to use num3 was an integer. So we're not going to need that one. So we're not using that one. And then from this one, okay. So our num3, we're just getting from our edit box. Num3 from the text property, but remember that gives us a string. So we need to change this string to an integer. Okay, so now we've got our number. Now we want to see if it's an even number. To see if something's an even number, the only time something is even is when we divide it by 2 and there's no remainder. So for us to look at remainder, once you use that word remainder, you must think immediately of mod. Mod gives us the remainder. So if we take our num3, I num3, and we divide it by 2 and the remainder is 0. So if we take our number, divide it by 2 and the remainder is 0, then our labeled edit 3, just see, I think it's 3, labeled edit 3, yes. Then our labeled edit 3 text property must be yes. Else our labeled edit 3 text property would just be no. Okay, so if we divide it by 2 and the remainder is 0, then yes, it's even, otherwise it's not. Then our next one, labeled edit 4, is number 4 a multiple of 3? So for a multiple, it's sort of the same thing, except when we divide it by the number, when you divide it by 3 now, the remainder should be 0. Because multiples of 3 is like 9, 12, so every time you divide it by 3, you'll get an exact answer without any remainders. So we're going to need a variable again. Number 4, remember number 4 was also an integer, it's from our combo box. So integer number 4, choose an integer for our input. Our inum4 we're getting from our combo box, cbo that, also .text. Also this gives us a string, so this means we need to change our string to an integer. Now we've got our number 4. Now we just want to check, is number 4 multiple of 3? So if we take our inum4 and we divide it by 3 and the remainder is 0, then in our labeled edit 4, in the text property, we just want to say yes it is. Otherwise, in our labeled edit 4, in the text property, we just want to say no. Okay, and then our last one, number 5, in labeled edit 5. Okay, is number 1 a factor of 250? So let's just paste this thing again because we're going to need number 1. Okay, is number 1 a factor of 250? So with this one, you'll remember you'll have to take the 250 and divide it by number 1. And then if there's no remainder, it's a factor. So it's just to change a bit. So if we take our 250 and we divide it by our inum1 and the remainder is 0, then our labeled edit number 5 text property must be yes. And then our labeled edit number 5 text property would be no. Okay, that's them. Then let's quickly see lastly. Okay, here we've got our radio button group. A random whole number between that and that, a random multiple between that and that, a random real number between that and that, 2 decimal places. So then when this button is clicked, depending on which one is selected, we must display the answer in this thing, which is our red display. Okay, so firstly we have to see which one of them is selected. So the way we'll do that is we can do an if. You remember I told you that these ones, the positions, the first one is position 0, that's position 1, that's position 2. So when you get something like this, I would prefer you to do the structure for all 3 of them first. So what I mean with that is, let's first do our ifs. So if our radio button group dot item index, because this gives you the position of the one that was selected. So if that one is 0, then begin. We're going to do that one. Else if, because there's 3 options now, we need an else if. So if it's not this first one, then it might be this next one, which is our radio button group randoms item index. We want to see if it's a 1. and then we just do our begin and our end. And then remember, there's just three options. So if it's not the first one and it's not the second one, then it must be the last one. So we don't need an if for this one. So there's our three options. For me to make my life a bit easier, when I click on this and I go to items, you'll see the three options there. I'm just going to copy this so that I can, in comments, paste it there. There's the first one. Remember, if it's 0, it's going to be that one. And then if it's 1, it's going to be this one. And if it's not one of them, it's going to be this one. I'm just putting it there so that I can get quicker to see what's happening. I just copied pasted. Control C and Control V. Control C is for copy, Control V is for paste, Control X is for cut, if you want to remove it from where it was. Let's see the time. Okay, yeah. Okay, so with this one we want even numbers. Whole number, real number. Let's go create some variables. So I'm going to need an integer random number, and I'm going to need a double random number for the third one. Okay, for all three of them, we're going to need random numbers. So outside the ifs, you can put randomize. So this random would work then. This randomize will work for all three of them. You only need to put it once. That's fine. If you did put it in all of them, that's also fine. Okay, so for this one, if the first one was selected, our integer random number needs to be a random whole number, even number between 10 and 100. Different ways you can do this. So the first way you could do this, maybe the shortest way, but like a bit of a cheat, it's an even number. So what you can do is you can go divide these numbers by 2. So that's 5 and that's 50. So we can do a random lowest number, the highest number is 50, lowest number is 5, always plus 1, outside the lowest number which is 5. And then what you can do is, because we divided by 2 the initial numbers, you put this in brackets and then you just times by 2. This will just, those of you that understand, is good with maths, you'll understand there's maths involved here. That's why, so if we times it by 2, it will always be an even number, and then it will become in that range. So this is a good one to use. However, if you don't want to use this way, what you could have also done, I'm going to put this just in comments. Another way you could have done, I think that most of you will understand maybe a bit easier, is our IRAN. We want the random number, highest number is 100, lowest number is 10, always plus 1, outside plus lowest number. Now the thing with this one, we might get odd numbers, but our lowest odd number will be 11 and our highest one will be 99, which is, so it doesn't actually matter in this case. Let's see. So you can then go if our IRAN, if we divide it by 2 and the remainder is 1, that means it's an odd number. So then you can decide what you want to do. So you can say IRAN must become whatever IRAN was plus 1. So if it's an odd number like 7, it's going to add 1 to it, it's going to become an 8. If it's an odd number like 99, it's going to add 1, it's going to become 100. So this will just change your odd number into an even number, and then it will be an even number. Okay, only thing we need to do then is go display. So in our red display, remember we want to display in a rich edit now. So it's your red display. Okay, so the dot text will remove what's there and just add this one on. So it depends what you want to do. So let's say with this option we want to clear what's in there. So then you'll use your dot text, and we want to display IRAN, but again same thing, IRAN is an integer. So we need to int to string that one. Okay, let's look at our next one. So our next one, we want a random multiple of 10 between 100 and 1000. So because it's a multiple of 10, we can actually go with an even number here. The even number is basically a multiple of 2. That's why we divide it by 2 to get those numbers, and then we times by 2. So the short way for this one would be the same thing. So your integer random number could be a random. So we'll divide by 10. So it's between 10 and 100. So the highest is 100 minus lowest plus 1 always plus lowest outside. And then this whole answer will just times by 10. So that would automatically always be a multiple of 10. Now the other option is you could just do a normal random again, but then you'll need it ifs for you'll need a lot of ifs for all the other options. So in this case, this is the much better way to do it. And then we just need to display this also. So in our array display, dot lines. Oh, with this one, let's assume with this one, we just want to add on to what's already there. So we don't want to clear like in this case. We want to just add on to what's already there. Then you'll use your dot lines dot add. And then we want our iran there. But remember again, iran is integer. So we need to int to string our iran. Okay, the last option. We want a random real number, so that's double, between 20 and 40, but we want to round it off to 2 decimal places. Okay, so let's first get the random number. So our double random number must be random. Highest number is 40, lowest number is 20, always plus 1, outside plus lowest. Okay, but because it's double, we must add the random. So now we've got our fraction random number between 40 and 20. Rounded to 2 decimal places. So if you want to round it off, our DRAN must just become round of DRAN. Now when you just round it off, this will make it a whole number. But I wanted 2 decimal places. So there's 2 ways you could do this. You could use the round function, but then like try it on a piece of paper. If you take your number and we just multiply it by 100 first, our decimal will move. Okay, let me show you here. Let's just go here. So let's say we had the number 12.34567889. So step 1, because we do the inside of the brackets first, we say times it by 100. That means our comma will move on there. So this is going to become 123.56789. Okay, do you agree? Because we timed it by 100. Then we're going to round it off. So then this one rounded off becomes 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. But remember this 5 will make that 4 a 5. So it becomes that. And then what we do on the outside is we divide by 100 again. So what will happen then is we will just divide this number by 100. So it becomes 123.35. So there we've got it rounded to 2 decimal places. Okay, so you can do it that way. The other way you could do is you can say your DRAN must become, and then there's a function round 2. And then you want to round to, with DRAN we want to round off. And then the decimal places, for decimal places you say -2. So that's for 2 decimal places on the right hand side of the full stop. If you say +2, it will round off actually to the closest 100. Because then it will go left hand side of the comma for 2 places. And that would also work fine. I personally like the top one, so I'm going to stick with that one. I'm going to put this one in comment. Only thing is now we want to display again. So let's say you forgot about how to dot text that clears. You just remember that dot lines would add, because we're going to use this one in most of our programs in the future. You're going to use this one a lot of times. There is another function that you can, your redisplay, you can just say dot clear. That will clear everything that's in the reach edit, and then you can say redisplay dot lines dot add, and then we can display our DRAM. But remember, DRAM is a double, so we need to float to string DRAM just, and that would display it. So that would clear the rich edit and then display this one. Okay, and that's our whole program. Please, if any problems with this, um, please send me a message and I'll try to answer this. And then, yeah, try to get this one. This one was, there's quite a few new work and a lot of questions in here. But any questions, please ask me, and then we'll see how you go with this week's work. Good luck, people. Thank you very much. Thanks for the hard work.